Good morning, sweet ladies. Thank you for joining us in Far Above Rubies today. I'm so very glad that each of you are here. Today, we are going to dive into the book of Hebrews. We're only going to look at a very short passage, verses 1 through 4, but every little section in Hebrews is very meaty. It is worthy of dissection, and so we want to look at short passages throughout the rest of this month in the book of Hebrews, okay? So stay with me. Go read this passage, but stay with me. Verses 1 through 4. Now, at the start of the month, I gave a little explanation about the continual references in the New Testament from Paul about the offices of God. All right, so if you missed August 1st on this devotional group, go back and catch that for me, okay? Because I share some scriptures there that are going to help you. But this is another great example of that, of the offices of God being exampled by Paul. He is talking to people who know that Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. Beside him, there is no other, okay? He's talking about the offices. He's talking about the manifestations of God, but he is one. And if you'd like a quick, simple example of this, I was reminded of this week. If you took ice cubes out of your freezer, put them in a pot on your stove, and turned the heat on, what would happen? That ice would melt and it would turn into water, right? Are the ice and the water different from one another, or are they the same? They are the same, right? If you crank that heat up really high, that water is going to boil, and then what's going to happen? It's going to evaporate and turn into steam, right? Is the steam separate from the ice cubes? Is the steam any different from the ice cubes? The steam comes from the ice cubes. They are one and the same. Three manifestations of the same thing, right? And that's what Paul goes on in this book and in both books of Thessalonians, That's what he goes on to try and describe and explain the offices of God. In this passage, Hebrews chapter 1, verses 1 through 4, it tells us that God, through the Son, through Jesus Christ, created the universe. God, through the Son, created the universe. But go back to Genesis 1. Do we see any mention of Jesus there? When God was creating the universe, I and my Father are one and the same, Jesus says to those who are asking him to show them the Father. He exampled to us, he showed to us in his life that he and the Father were one and the same. And Paul is explaining that here. He goes on to say how Jesus sat at the right hand of God when he ascended to heaven. And that can be a confusing image for a lot of people. But the right hand is merely a symbol of power. God and Jesus being one and the same, and Paul talking to people who know that they are one and the same, is explaining to the church of Hebrews, in this letter of Hebrews, that Jesus is possessing all power, okay? He said it himself, all power in heaven and earth is given unto me, all right? So either God is powerless or Jesus and God are one and the same. And this image of Jesus at the right hand of God is a symbolic message that Jesus possesses the power, okay? I'm going to try not to dive in to a long, lengthy message on this, all right? But I hope that you will dive into this little short passage, Hebrews chapter 1, verses 1 through 4. And I hope you'll go back and read the passages I mentioned in the first video from this month, August 1st, on 1 Thessalonians chapter 1. Go back and read those scriptures as well. And if you have questions, I'm very happy and eager to talk with you about those questions. Understanding that God is one is a beautiful, wonderful, exciting thing. And I hope that you will take time to study this passage with that in mind. If you have questions, let me know. If you have arguments, talk to God. I didn't write the scripture, okay? I love you all so much. Go and read Hebrews chapter 1, verses 1 through 4. And if no one's told you lately, you are loved and you are cherished. You are valuable. You have beautiful, tremendous worth, and that worth is far above rubies. You have two wonderful guest speakers coming to you the next 2 days. And make sure that you tune in and let them know that you're here and you appreciate their time. I love you so much. God bless you. I'll see you again on Sunday.